Ever stop to think about what goes into making those disinfectant wipes you use every day?
Probably not top of mind, but you're right. It's pretty intriguing when you think about it.
Yeah, and you might be surprised to learn it involves some seriously cool machinery
Definitely.
and a whole career path you might not have considered.
I bet most people haven't.
Let's deep dive into the world of non-woven filament machine operation. We've got a stack of career guides and industry reports here ready to give you the inside scoop on what this job really entails,
Sounds fascinating.
the skills you need, and even some insider tips for career advancement.
Well, it's a good time to be looking into this field, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is that this sector is experiencing some significant growth.
Oh, really? Why is that?
It's because of the increasing demand for non-woven fabrics across all sorts of industries.
Interesting.
This means promising opportunities for anyone who might be interested in this line of work.
Okay, so there's definitely a demand. But what exactly does a non-woven filament machine operator do all day?
Right.
It's not just pushing buttons, is it?
It's a bit more nuanced than that.
Okay, good, because that didn't sound very exciting.
No, these operators are essentially the conductors of these machines that transform raw materials into those non-woven fabrics we find everywhere.
Okay.
Think healthcare gowns and masks,
Ah, yeah.
automotive filters, even the geotextiles used in construction. They all start with these machines and the skilled people who operate them.
So it's not just about knowing how to work the machine, but understanding the materials and their end use, too.
Exactly.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is. A non-woven filament machine operator needs a blend of technical expertise, and practical knowledge to really succeed.
Yeah, I get you.
They're operating machinery, mixing chemicals, monitoring the entire production process,
Oh, wow.
troubleshooting any hiccups along the way,
Uh-huh.
and ensuring strict quality control.
It sounds like a lot to juggle.
It can be, yeah.
No room for error when you're making something that could end up in a hospital. What's the work environment actually like?
Right.
Should we picture a sterile lab or a bustling factory floor?
It's definitely closer to the factory floor than the lab.
Okay.
The typical work environment is a manufacturing plant,
Yeah.
although some roles do exist in research and development facilities.
So more likely to be surrounded by whirring machines than white coats?
You got it.
Yeah.
And it's important to be realistic about the conditions. It can be noisy, dusty, and yes, there's potential exposure to chemicals.
Right, I can imagine.
So safety precautions and protective gear are non-negotiable in this line of work.
Safety first. But on a more positive note, it sounds like there's a real team element to this job.
Oh, for sure.
You mentioned engineers and scientists. Who else are they collaborating with? Suppliers, I'd imagine.
You're right on the money. It's actually a very collaborative role.
Right.
Think about it. You've got suppliers delivering raw materials, engineers fine-tuning processes, and potentially even interactions with customers who need specific types of non-woven fabrics.
Oh, wow.
It's not just about working independently with a machine. It's about being part of a larger production ecosystem.
Okay, I have to admit, this is way more dynamic than I initially pictured. So we've got a solid picture of what the job entails and where it takes place. But let's talk pros and cons. What are the major advantages of this career path?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the demand is high, which usually translates to good job security.
What's a good point?
Imagine having a career where you're almost guaranteed a job.
Yeah.
The non-woven fabric industry is booming, and with the demand for these products only increasing, you'll be in a great position to write your own ticket.
Right.
That kind of job security is a huge advantage in today's market, and because it requires a specialized skill set, there's often less competition compared to more general manufacturing roles.
So it's kind of like finding your niche. You learn these specific skills and suddenly you're in demand. What about opportunities for growth? Is this a dead-end job or is there a path forward?
Definitely not a dead end.
Good.
There are opportunities for advancement, too.
Like what?
You can move up from entry level to lead operator, even into management or supervisory roles as you gain experience.
Wow, that's excellent.
Some even transition into research and development, bringing their hands-on knowledge to the design process.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's definite room to grow and carve out a long-term career here, but you'd be remiss if you didn't give us the flip side. What are some of the downsides that people considering this field should be aware of?
You're right. It's all about having a balanced perspective.
Absolutely.
As with any job, there are trade-offs. We already touched on the potential exposure to chemicals and the need for protective gear.
Yep.
But the work itself can be physically demanding, too.
In what way?
You're often on your feet for long hours.
Right.
And there's a potential for injuries if proper safety protocols aren't followed religiously.
Right, so it's not a desk job where you can just kick back.
No, definitely not.
And what about the hours? Is it a standard 9 to 5, or are we talking shift work?
That's a great question. And it really depends on the specific employer and their production schedule.
Okay.
Many of these manufacturing facilities operate around the clock.
Oh, right.
So be prepared for the possibility of shift work,
Yeah.
including nights, weekends, even holidays.
So flexibility is key.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the work itself, but also being adaptable to different schedules. What about the learning curve? Do you need to be a tech whiz to operate these machines?
While some mechanical aptitude is helpful, you don't need to be a tech whiz right out of the gate.
Okay,
Most companies provide on-the-job training.
that's good.
However, one thing to keep in mind is that this field is always evolving.
Yeah, makes sense.
New technologies are constantly emerging, so there's a need for continuous learning and adaptation to stay at the top of your game.
That makes sense. If you're not comfortable with ongoing learning and picking up new skills, this might not be the best fit.
Right.
What are some specific skills that are essential for success in this field?
Let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, you need to be comfortable with machinery. And I'm not just talking about basic operation.
Yeah, like changing the settings.
We're talking about understanding how these machines work, how to troubleshoot them when they act up,
Right.
how to keep them running smoothly.
So a bit of a mechanical aptitude is helpful.
You got it.
Like if you enjoy tinkering with your car or fixing things around the house, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But it's not just about the mechanics. You also need a keen eye for detail.
Okay.
Remember, you're monitoring gauges, dials, and all sorts of indicators
Right.
to ensure that the machine is performing optimally.
So you can't be afraid of numbers and data.
Yeah,
You need to be able to spot those little inconsistencies that could indicate a bigger problem.
precisely. And here's another big one, production and processing knowledge.
Okay, what's that about?
You need to understand how those raw materials are transformed into the final non-woven fabric product.
Right, yeah.
What impacts quality and how to manufacture efficiently without compromising those standards.
So it's about understanding the entire process from start to finish.
Exactly.
You're not just pushing buttons, you're making sure every step of the process is running smoothly.
You've got it. And let's not forget about quality control.
Oh, right.
This is a huge part of the job, ensuring that the final product meets those strict specifications every single time.
Because no one wants a faulty filter or a flimsy surgical gown.
Right.
Speaking of which, let's say someone is feeling good about their skills and are ready to ace that job interview. What kind of questions should they be prepared to answer?
Well, you can bet they'll be asked about their experience with specific non-woven filament machines. Okay, so
Have they operated this type of machine before? What are their comfort levels?
hands-on experience is key.
It's definitely a plus.
But what about those fresh out of school who might not have that practical experience yet?
Yeah.
What should they focus on?
That's where highlighting your eagerness to learn and your passion for the field comes in.
So you're saying,
Show them you've done your research, you understand the industry,
yeah,
you're ready to dive in and soak up all the knowledge you can. Of course, they'll also be tested on their problem-solving skills.
right.
How would they ensure those machines are running at optimal levels?
Okay.
How would they prioritize tasks when operating multiple machines at once?
Because things can get pretty hectic on the factory floor.
You said it. And of course, they'll want to know about your commitment to quality.
How'd you ensure those machines are producing top-notch products?
Uh-huh.
Can you share an example of a time you had to troubleshoot a problem and ensure quality wasn't compromised?
So be ready to share those success stories.
Yes, absolutely.
What about teamwork and safety? Are those topics likely to come up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They'll want to know how you'd work with a team to ensure smooth production,
Yeah.
how you prioritize safety procedures, and even how you stay updated on the latest industry trends.
Because it's one thing to know how to run the machine, but it's another to be a valuable team player
Yes.
who's always learning and growing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised if they ask you about training others, or how you'd ensure those production quotas are met without sacrificing quality. It's about showing them you can handle the responsibility and contribute to the team's success.
No, you've got me thinking about the career path itself. You mentioned moving up from entry level to lead operator.
Right.
Can we break that down a bit more? What does that progression look like?
Of course.
Okay.
Let's start with someone just beginning as an entry-level nonwoven filament machine operator.
Fresh out of school, eager to learn the ropes, maybe
Yes,
a little intimidated by those massive machines.
that's the one.
Okay.
At this stage, it's all about hands-on training. They'll be paired with a more experienced operator,
Right.
learning how to operate the machine under close supervision, monitoring those settings to make sure the fabric is coming out right,
Okay.
and doing some basic maintenance tasks.
That reminds me of when I was learning how to use a professional camera.
Right.
It seems like having that hands-on experience with a mentor is crucial in any field that involves specialized equipment.
For sure.
What happens as they gain experience?
Yeah.
What does that next step up look like?
Well, as they progress to a junior nonwoven filament machine operator role, they'll start to take on more independence.
So flying solo a bit more, but still with a safety net?
Precisely.
Okay.
They'll be independently operating the machine, monitoring that production output to make sure it's meeting those quality standards, handling routine maintenance, and cleaning without being told every step, even collaborating with those senior operators to troubleshoot trickier technical issues.
Okay, so they're becoming a problem solver, not just an operator.
Yes, and a mentor too.
Oh, really?
At this level, they might even start training those newer operators, passing on that hard-won knowledge.
Wow.
It's a rewarding feeling to see someone else benefit from your expertise.
Absolutely. It shows real ownership and leadership potential. Now, what does it take to reach those coveted senior level positions?
As they continue to excel, they might find themselves in a senior nonwoven filament machine operator role.
Okay.
You've seen it all at this point.
Right.
Not only are they leading a team of operators, but they're also getting into the nitty-gritty of optimizing those production processes for maximum efficiency.
So, thinking about how to get the most out of those machines,
Yes,
minimizing downtime and maximizing output.
exactly. They're conducting regular maintenance, coordinating any repairs with those maintenance crews, developing quality control procedures, really taking ownership of that entire production line.
That sounds like a great position for someone who enjoys the hands-on aspects of the job,
Yeah.
but also wants to be involved in the bigger picture of improving efficiency and streamlining processes.
You hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they're still mentoring those junior operators,
Right.
always looking for ways to improve the process and share their expertise.
Yeah.
It creates a real culture of continuous improvement within the team.
It's incredible how much responsibility and influence a senior operator has. What about those who aspire to reach the very top?
Well, for those with a real drive to lead and a strategic mindset, the lead nonwoven filament machine operator position is the ultimate goal.
Okay, so this is the boss,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one calling the shots.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
They're leading and supervising that whole team of operators, developing those standard operating procedures that everyone follows,
Right.
optimizing production schedules, coordinating staffing needs,
Wow.
working closely with the engineering and maintenance teams to make those big picture process improvements.
So not just focused on one machine or even one line anymore, they're thinking about the entire operation.
Yes,
That's a lot of responsibility, but also a lot of potential impact.
exactly. And they're developing their team, conducting performance evaluations,
Mm.
providing training opportunities, ensuring everyone is meeting those safety regulations and quality standards.
Yeah.
It's a highly demanding role, but also incredibly rewarding for the right person.
Wow, that's quite a journey. It's amazing to see how much room for growth there is within this one specialized field. But what if, after exploring this deep dive, you realize that operating the machinery isn't quite your cup of tea?
Right.
Are there other career paths within this industry that someone might find appealing?
Absolutely. There are plenty of other exciting avenues to explore.
So you're saying that even if someone loves the idea of working with these innovative fabrics, they don't have to be tied to a machine all day.
Exactly.
What other options are out there?
There are roles that might be a better fit for those who are drawn to different aspects of the industry.
Okay.
For example, if precision and attention to detail are your strengths,
Mhm.
a role as a nonwoven fabric quality control inspector could be the perfect fit.
Ah, the guardians of quality.
Yes,
Making sure those fabrics meet all those strict industry standards we talked about.
precisely. They're conducting tests, analyzing data, and acting as the last line of defense to ensure everything leaving that factory floor is up to par.
Especially important when it comes to things like medical grade fabrics.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no room for error there.
None whatsoever.
What about those who are more interested in the research and development side of things?
Okay.
You know, the ones who love to experiment and push the boundaries of what's possible with these materials?
Now, that's where a role as a non-woven fabric research and development technician comes in.
Okay.
They're the innovators in the lab, experimenting with different materials and processes to develop new types of fabrics
Right.
with specific properties or improve existing ones.
So for someone who loves science and wants to be on the cutting edge of this industry, that sounds like an amazing opportunity.
It is.
They could be the ones who discover the next generation of sustainable high-performance materials.
Imagine that, developing a new type of biodegradable filter
Wow.
or a super strong lightweight fabric for use in construction. The possibilities are endless.
Amazing.
And let's not forget the management and supervisory roles within the sector.
Right, of course.
Someone needs to lead those teams of operators, oversee production, and make those big picture decisions that keep everything running smoothly.
So no matter where your interests lie, whether it's the hands-on operation of machinery, the meticulous eye for quality control, the thrill of scientific discovery, or the strategic thinking of management, there's a path for everyone in the world of non-woven fabrics.
You've got it. And here's something else to consider.
Okay, what's that?
Even if you don't end up working directly with non-woven fabrics, the skills you learn in this field are highly transferable.
Now that's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Think about it. You're developing problem-solving skills, learning how to work with complex machinery, understanding production processes, and mastering quality control. Those are all valuable skills in any manufacturing environment.
That's a great point. So even if someone decides to switch gears later on, this experience could give them a real leg up.
Precisely.
This has been incredibly eye-opening. We've gone from disinfectant wipes to cutting-edge material science in the span of a single deep dive.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's a whole world behind the scenes that most people don't even realize exists.
That's the beauty of these deep dives, isn't it? They make you look at everyday objects and industries in a whole new light. You've given me a lot to think about.
Well, I hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to explore some of these career paths further.
You definitely have. And for our listener out there, next time you reach for that disinfectant wipe, take a moment to appreciate the ingenuity and hard work that went into creating it. Who knows, maybe you'll be the one designing the next generation of non-woven materials. The possibilities are endless.